Dalano Banton has been quietly breaking out for the Toronto Raptors, so we'll break down his performance over the month of November and see what he's doing to take his game to the next level. Additionally, the Raptors got a massive W against the Detroit Pistons last night, so we'll dive into that game breakdown as well as another key rotation player going down with injury in Otto Porter Jr. and Giannis speaking out about a potential future with the Raptors. So a bunch of stuff to dive into. Without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors side, just breaking down the latest Toronto Raptors news. If you guys want to stay up to date with everything surrounding the Toronto Raptors, definitely hit subscribe if you enjoy the content. It means the world to us and it keeps you updated on everything surrounding this team. But let's dive into the news, and the first thing we're taking a look at is Dalano Banton quietly breaking out for the Toronto Raptors. Now, as I said, I didn't get a post-game reaction. We'll be back on our regular schedule starting this week, next couple of days. Missed the last couple of post-game lives, but the Raptors got a nice W against the Detroit Pistons, and one guy that was just absolutely dominant was Dalano Banton. And quietly, when you look at the stats, Delano's been a guy that's been slowly breaking out for this team, clearly ingratiating with all the injuries and stuff, taking advantage of those opportunities, and making himself a proper staple of this Raptors rotation. I mean, last night, if you look at the game, Dalano Banton ended up having, in the start, in only 25 minutes of action, 27 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 blocks, hit 3 threes, and came out a 9 of 16 from the field. So remarkable field goal shooting percentage there in this one. And Dalano Banton's a guy that a lot of Raptors fans just see the potential, right? He's long, he's wiry, his jump shot doesn't look that broken, right? Especially been improved from his rookie season, right? And just a dude that if he can take down the turnovers a little bit, right? If he can put everything together, has remarkable potential. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it to be a star player for this Raptors team. That ceiling is definitely there. That star potential is there for Dalano Banton, but a lot of things have to go right. And over the past couple of weeks, he was given some opportunity at the start of the season. There was a lot of talk Nick Nurse made during training camp about Dalano Banton taking a step forward, but during the first couple of weeks of the year, didn't really take advantage of that opportunity. But he fell out of the rotation for a couple games, but then in the month of November, has really, taken the opportunity with all of the injuries going on and quietly run with it. Hasn't, with the exception of last night's game against the Pistons, hasn't had any monster performances, but has been a legitimate backup point guard for this Raptors team, and it's something that's desperately needed for this Raptors squad in limited opportunities. So you look at his stats just over the month of November. He's currently averaging 10 points per game, 2 rebounds, 2 assists in just 13 minutes of action. And the two numbers that really stand out to me, in this little graphic and this stat breakdown for November is the 39% from behind the three-point line on 3.3 attempts per game. His field goal percentage is also pretty solid on that front as well, and the free throw shooting, 86% from behind the free throw line. Dalano Banton, if he can get that consistent jump shot, because last year he'd be thrown into games where teams would just say, hey, let's go to a 2-3 zone, let's go to a 3-2, let's clog the paint and let these guys shoot. Don't let Dalano Banton run in transition. Don't let him get his game going fast. And Dalano Banton was essentially taken out of these games. But right now, 39% from behind the three-point line. Not only is he not a liability from out there, he's an effective three-point shooter at this point. So hit a lot of big ones against Detroit last night. But over the course of this time, the jump shot looks pretty consistent. We've talked about how his midi pull-up has looked great ever since Summer League preseason and even when he was struggling at the start. So the jump shot looks like it's come along. But that's not the only reason Dalano has really taken his game to the next level over in recent weeks. I just feel like Dalano, even though the assists don't really show a huge step up, even though 2 assists per game in 13 minutes is not bad by any means, but I think he's playing within the flow of the offense where he's not just being a ball stopper when he's out there, because I gave criticism, and really before he went on these stretch of games, as Dalano Banton's not really a guy that fits well with when he's playing with star players. He's effective when he's the lead guy, when he has the opportunity to, dribble the air out of the basketball and attack. He can create some isolation plays for himself, but it's not really the recipe for winning basketball. I think that's a big reason why, Nick Nurse didn't like him playing. He didn't get a lot of opportunity, at least throughout last season, because he forced the issue a little bit. He dribbled a lot. He'd be turnover heavy, but he has that vision. He has that, capability to where if he just worked on his game within the flow of the offense a little bit more, he'd be extremely effective. And I think that's the real reason Dalano Banton has taken that step forward. Because right now, he's running those lanes, he's cutting effectively, but when he gets that basketball, while he still is a little bit of a ball stopper, he hasn't completely changed on that point, but that's what point guards do, right? They set up the offense and get their games going, but he's playing a lot faster. He's more decisive with his moves. He's not wasting dribbles, and that allows him to catch the ball within the flow of the O and create for others, to create opportunities for himself and get those hockey assists that really you need out of a guy like Dalano, who, is going to be running the point guard position, as our backup right now for Fred VanVleet in theory. So I love what I've seen from him. He's obviously an effective defender off the bench because Malachi Flynn's also been solid, but defensively, gets worked occasionally. We saw that a little bit by Jaden Ivey last night. Ivey was cooking both those guys, so I won't bag on Flynn too much, but it's nice to see Dalano Banton establishing himself as a proper backup point guard and taking the step we expected him to take coming into his second year. So shout out to Dalano Banton, but that's not the only sort of takeaway. I wanted to highlight Dalano Banton at the start of this podcast, but there was a game last night. Unfortunately, as I wasn't able to react to it, we'll be back on the post games. Going forward here throughout, don't stress that whatsoever, but the Raptors, they broke the curse, folks. That Dwayne Casey curse, it has been broken. And it came on a night where the Raptors really didn't have a lot of their guys. No Fred, no Pascal Siakam, no Gary Trent Jr., right? Like, the Raptors have been injury depleted, right? Our key guys, Precious Achiuwa is obviously still out. So we needed players to step up. Obviously, I just went on a rant about Dalano, but Chris Boucher is also a guy that played really well in this game against the Detroit Pistons. 20 points in this one, 4 rebounds, was randomly hitting a bunch of midi dribble pull-up shots, looking like Kevin Garnett out there, hitting these shots at the top of the key, one dribble pulls. Last season, whenever we saw Chris Boucher take a dribble pull-up, even a lot of this year, you sort of cringe a little bit. He's better at those set three-point shots, but it's clearly something he's been working on, and he really put on a clinic out there in the mid-range there last night. So Chris Boucher was out there playing well, right? We have Juancho came off and gave some solid production off the bench. Koloko had 8 points, a block, effective on defense, but nothing too crazy from our starters. OG Anunoby, while he wasn't the most efficient, the three-point shots could have gone down a little bit better, had 19 points himself. Obviously, OG is going to be a dude that's more effective, playing off people, playing within the flow of the offense, similar to Dalano Banton. He's not really going to be a 1A guy night in, night out, but I think he's doing a commendable job with all of the injuries that we've had in recent games. So I liked the performances out there. Chatty Thaddeus Young deserves a lot of praise because he was a guy that was getting 0 minutes for a stretch there at the start of the season and has come in, never complained. Now is our starting center at this point, and his box score is never going to be something that makes you turn your head like crazy. I mean, he took 4 shots last night, 6 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. He fills up the stat sheet, but just his hustle and his effort out there on the court is always huge. One of the leaders, at least the leader in the starting lineup in terms of plus minus. It was just an all-around game for this squad. But, there's one guy that I've seen receive a little bit of I made a whole video on him the other day, but Scotty Barnes came out in the first sort of quarter in this one. The first couple of possessions, I said, okay, this is going to be a big Scotty Barnes night. He had a couple of just quick drives to the rim, quick attacks, and it's exactly what we want to see out of Scotty Barnes, right? Getting to the rim, going up. I know Cade Cunningham wasn't playing, but the Detroit Pistons fans have been trashing on Scotty a whole bunch over the past year or so. So I was expecting a big night, especially with all the criticism coming Scotty Barnes' way in recent weeks. But in this one, 8 points, only took 9 shots, 4 assists, 5 rebounds. A steal, a block, playing within the flow of the offense. But again, Scotty's needs to be one of those dudes that just takes over. And defensively, again, didn't have a great performance on that end either. So we can't just have Scotty Barnes chilling in the dunker spot. That's not his role. That's not his most effective play. Dalano Banton's never a guy you have to worry about for being aggressive. Sometimes he gets over dribble happy and all that sort of stuff. But that could rub off on Scotty Barnes a little bit. I wouldn't mind Scotty Barnes just calling a few ISOs for himself, using that bully ball effectiveness. So then, when the double comes, if he has a smaller guy on him, he can just take him to the rim. The double comes, he can use that playmaking ability to really create for other Raptors players. So I'm not going to be out here bagging on Scotty Barnes. I know his potential. I know what he can do, but it's all about aggressiveness. It's all about mentality. And I think especially in games where we don't have these other star players around, Scottie Barnes just being more locked in on trying to get his own game going rather than, sort of floating around, letting everyone else sort of do their things, especially when the Pistons went on a couple runs last night. Like, Scottie Barnes had moments where he could have taken over this game, but just didn't. And, he still does other things out there, even with all the criticism and stuff, like 5 rebounds, 4 assists. That's all solid, but we want him to take the jump. We want him to improve from last season. So hopefully Scottie Barnes. He's still getting the Scottie Barnes award for this most recent game, but definitely would like to see him take a step forward going forward. So we'll see how he ends up performing. There'll definitely be a lot of opportunities in coming games as injuries are still piling on. That's a little transition into our next topic as Otto Porter Jr. has been added to the injury report again. And I butchered that grammar in that chapter, but man, and the Raptors just cannot catch a break at this point because with Pascal Siakam going out, Fred VanVleet being in out of the lineup, Gary Trent Jr. going down for this most recent game, Precious Achiuwa out indefinitely, Kem Birch being in out of the lineup, Otto Porter Jr. was out for the whole start of the season, Boucher was out for the whole start of the season. We get Otto Porter Jr. back, hopefully to be a rock on our bench that we can rely upon to be solid, and bad news came out today as Otto Porter Jr., Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr. are both questionable for tomorrow's game against Miami, but Otto Porter Jr. is now going to be out with a toe dislocation, joining Pascal Siakam and Precious Achiuwa. And we also got some Jeff Doughton action. We got some Justin Champagnie available from the Raptors 905. I forgot to mention that in the Pistons breakdown, but we did get to see Jeff Doughton play, and I thought he looked solid in his limited run. So I want to see Jeff Doughton get more opportunities there as well. But we're on the Otto Porter Jr. topic, and it just sucks with the toe dislocation. I think there's a similar injury going on. Desmond Bane. The Eric Green didn't break down the timeline for that, but toe injuries, they can sometimes be something you play through and you get back on the court pretty quick, or they can be things that take weeks to recover from. So the fact that Otto Porter Jr. was out for so long to start the season, he's just getting back in his rhythm a little bit, even though he hasn't been amazing. It just sucks. It sucks to see him go down with injury, especially where he's such a needed piece to this Toronto Raptors team. So hopefully he recovers quickly. Hopefully we get some of these Raptors guys back before we were having to dive into like we did last year when everything was health and safety protocols and we're calling in guys for single games as call-ups and stuff. So, but if it gets Jeff Doughton some minutes on the court, I'm not going to be complaining. But the final thing we're talking about in this video is Giannis speaking out on joining the Toronto Raptors. Now, Serge Ibaka, the marketing wizard that he is, one of the best personalities in the NBA, one of the funnest guys in Raptors history, had the How Hungry Are You YouTube show, or I don't know where he's posting them now these days, but I think what the main platform is on, but he had Giannis Antetokounmpo onto his show, and he knows that his fans, well, at least he's got fans all over the place, I'm sure, but his diehard fans are up north the board of the Toronto Raptors, and he hyped up this episode with Giannis coming on, asking him, Giannis, will you be in the future a member of the Toronto Raptors? True or false? And then that was the promo material. Well, we finally got Giannis's answer, and much to the dismay of Raptors fans, unfortunately, he picked false, but with a little room for potential possibility. He said, I have to go with false, because obviously he couldn't go with true. That would have just completely been a what storm down there in Milwaukee if Giannis said, oh, true, or, if he had to pick one or the other. He had to go with false, but he did say, if they offer me a contract and I have to take it, I got to feed my kids. You're putting me in a tough situation. But maybe the recruitment pitch that Serge Ibaka might have made hurts our future potential chances, because he said, I'm a man of my word. I'm saying false right now, and if he gets offered a contract, he would have taken it. Now he might not. I don't know. It's all fun and games there with Giannis, but Raptors fans just want this guy to come. And I'm not playing the Want Giannis Watch segment because the people that made that copyright free music, they demonetized our recent vid, so can't play the Giannis Watch segment anymore. It's officially retired, and maybe after Giannis essentially putting to rest any speculation of him joining the Raptors anytime soon, we'll put it to rest here too. But folks, you guys are the best to make this fire. Check out the Instagram, the TikTok, all that cool stuff. Instagram's about to be back popping, so we'll get that stuff rocking. Anyways, you guys are the best. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're signing out. Cheers.